Welcome back to the channel. My name is Andy Nguyen. I'll admit, I haven't been the biggest fan of Wuchui and Melotrix offerings for a few months now. From the Mammoth 75 build difficulty and the sus sound and feel of the original Zoom 65EE, I've been a bit more critical. Melotrix did send out this keyboard for review, but it's not sponsored. We recently took a look at the Zoom TKL, which only had two major faults: releasing too early without saying in bottom compatibility, and just being boring, which isn't a bad thing in its own right. The Zoom 65EE R2 incorporates the new design choices of the TKL into a 65% form factor. Still the same shape, aesthetic, but now featuring an actual glass back, but it's shiny at least, which is pretty dang stunning. Let's break it down. Injection molded polycarbonate keyboards are cheap, affordable, accessible, but some people may want some weight, some heft, some thickness. Mostly because they came from plastic gamer keyboards and they just want something that feels quality, and heavy in hand feels more quality. The Zoom 65EE has a coated aluminum housing. It is a bit cheeky though.
The anodized portion is pretty thin. It's actually weighted by the internal sandblasted stainless steel weight.
Before I built this, it was originally a little concerning considering the zinc weight in the Bakaneko was pretty pingy. I will go on record to say that I do not like hot swap with PC plates, especially in a gasket mount keyboard. It requires the use of standoffs, and that just ruins the flexible feel of the PC plates. If you don't use standoffs, the switches will just pop out, the plate will come down, and it will just feel and sound kind of gross. For the Zoom 65EE, you do want to use at least the standoffs near the knob. That's to kind of hold it in place because the knob is soldered in and you don't want it to fall out or kind of tweak and bend the plate and grind against the case. For this build, we used the CF plate, carbon fiber, because CF plates are pretty dang nice. Brass plates have that like high frequency resonance. PC plates often have a deeper sound, but do have a plastic sound to them. And palm can sound clacky. There are no rules set in stone, but CF has a stiffer feel and a nice deeper sound without the metallic resonance that may come from brass or even aluminum plates. I would say aluminum plates are the most well-rounded and versatile for most people, but CF has been slapping hard lately. We use Penyu switches in here, long PP switches. They're basically a pre-manufactured BCP Black Cherry Pie Franken switch. That switch is made up of a Novel Keys Cream, Cherry MX Black top, and an H1 bottom. Use whatever spring you want, but because of molds changes, Novel Keys Cream stems don't often work anymore, and Kale Pro stems that are used for this Franken switch also often don't work. So to do the DIY Franken switch, I don't know if I'd recommend it anymore. But that combination, the BCP, was one of the best sounding switches. I'm gonna leak a little bit of information I've never told anybody in public. There was this whale, he offered me some money for my BCP switches. These BCPs had Novel Keys Cream stems that came from switches that were used for over 6 months, so it was generally pretty smooth. I forgot how much he offered, but he was like, I'll pay $6 a switch. I was like, hell yes, take all of them. Kind of grifted him a little bit, but he offered, you know, like, I'm not a flipper, he just offered. BCPs are really good, but Penyus are a easier way to get that sound and feel. But it has really short travel, so keep that in mind. When you throw it into a board, it's just one of those switches that makes everything sound so good. Maybe it's just the switch sounding good and not the keyboard itself. A little bit concerning here with the BCP. The sound of the keyboard with this OP switch was pretty damn good. It reminds me a lot of the Zoom TKL. Not going to knock your socks off, but doesn't necessarily have any weak points in the sound or feel department. The PCB and plate have flex cuts because that's what the people want. And the package comes with a ton of foam because that's what the people want. I used none of it and it sounded pretty solid. What you hear right here, no foam, no P foam, nothing, just the mount and the PCB and the plate. This also has Bluetooth, so I can just throw in the battery and then use it that way. Now I have a decently weighted 65% keyboard that you can bring to work with you and not have to bring any extra cables. Pretty solid in my opinion. I had limited testing with gaming and like always, it's viable, but if you're a competitive gamer, maybe connect the cable anyway. The look of this keyboard is where it shines. Let me try to wipe it off on my pants right here. The glass is here to stay. And so are my fingerprints. Honestly, the glass really classes up the keyboard a lot. The original Zoom 65EE felt kind of cheap in the hand, wasn't as heavy, didn't have anything to stand out. It had the finish on it. You see there's a little bit of a texture on here. It feels different when it's light. When it has a little bit of weight, it has a shiny back. Pretty solid. The knob is there if you want to do knob things.
A few other changes in R2 is that the top case is now seamless, so it looks really clean and high quality. The PCB now has a daughter board, so it makes sense that it has a flex cut plate and PCB, and of course perky RGB for the RGB lovers.
Besides that, the keyboard looks almost exactly like the R1. The shape is the same, the silhouette's the same. Don't fake one ain't broke, right? It was a pretty popular keyboard, a little bit overshadowed by the QK65, but still high demand in a lot of places. I think it's a solid keyboard. One of the concerning items I want to bring to light is the focus on the two colors here, wild green and teal. I have wild green in my hands. It's actually wild green. I thought they sent me teal because you look at this, I would say this is teal. Thing is, wild green is actually a darker teal than teal. The lighter version of wild green is teal. So if you're looking at the renders, the renders show the wild green as more so a forest green and the teal being clearly a teal. In reality, after they're manufactured, colors are very close to each other. And I confirmed with WooTrade, there's a reason why I have both, and it's because I was like, hey, did you send me teal? So they sent me another unit, and they actually sent me the teal after I looked at the video they sent. So here's the video, shows the differences. They're both two different colors of teal. So if you're looking to match this with something that's a forest green in terms of keycaps, you're gonna have a bad time. I use here minimal because there's not many options. Minimal, white on black. That's all I really got for something like this. So there's a little PSA, a little reminder, as we've noticed time and time again, don't get married to renders. Renders are make-believe. Renders, especially when you apply that render to a plastic or metal, is gonna react a little bit differently. Sometimes they nail the color, sometimes they don't. And that's why you get a cheaper price in the group buy because you don't have the final product yet. Honestly, my recommendation is make sure you can find someone that has a proto of the color that you want, so at least you have a physical product you can refer to rather than a render made by a computer. One of my buddies really likes the dark green aesthetic, so I was hoping I could get this for him, and he's getting a teal. It's gonna be free, so he shouldn't complain. So at the end of the day, what do I think about this keyboard? I don't think it's a keyboard worth buying if you already have a keyboard. It's nothing that knocks anything out of the park. Maybe you want something Bluetooth, but besides that, if you already have the R1, don't buy the R2. If you have a QK65, don't buy this. If you have like some other kind of like entry level 65, don't necessarily buy this. You're gonna lose money selling something and you're gonna buy something retail, which is gonna end up selling for less once you wanna get rid of it. So be careful, slow down, don't buy everything that moves or goes on sale. FOMO's a thing, but just relax. Overall, if it's your first keyboard, however, I think it's a solid package. The ways they reduce the cost, pretty solid. I'll put the cost on the screen here. They're all kind of around the same price point. Other competitors in the space are, of course, the Tofu 65 2.0 and the QK65 you buy aftermarket. This is gonna be the last run of the Zoom 65EE. They're not gonna restock anymore. So if you don't have one yet, consider buying if you actually want this, because I think they're gonna move on to other projects. That's it, that's my video. Thanks for watching. If you wanna help support, consider using the affiliate links in the description box below. I get a little kickback and it costs you nothing extra. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.